And then she peed on his chest. Kyle. DarbyCast, Economics Wednesday. Kyle was just on the receiving end of a story of mine where I was telling him about a drive that a couple of my teammates and I had with a coach of ours, high school basketball coach. He talked about waking up in the middle of the night by some chick who threw him in a bathtub and took a sizz all over his chest. Why is that important? Some of you are asking yourselves right now. And if it wasn't immediately obvious, you're going to want to stick around. Sure, nobody should really be disclosing disgusting things like that to children. But what a memorable coach, right? I appreciate that. That is the coach who dropped the famous quote. Let me set this up a little bit. High school basketball team is putting on a fundraiser. It's a car wash. And I feel like that really works for the pep squad, but not so much for dude's basketball team. But we were doing that regardless. One of the assistant coaches, the guy I was just talking about, he rolls up in a beater Mercedes. Thing is just on its last legs. I thought it was pretty cool. Some of the other guys on the team were like, "Hey, nice car, coach." They were bullying him. This one kid, Kevin, he heckles the coach, says, "Hey, coach, nice car." Kevin's a prissy little rich kid. I think he grew up to be queer or dead. One of the two, maybe both. Probably in that sequence and not a different order. I don't think a lot of people change their sexuality after death. However, Kevin says, "Coach, nice car." And you know what Coach said? He said, "Kevin, you don't have to drive a Ferrari when you are a Ferrari." Talk about a life-defining moment for everyone within earshot. It was that day that I knew I was destined for a lot. Specifically what? Unclear. But because I was witness to such a high impact, high octane moment, I was set up for success. It's kind of a silver spoon in mouth postnatally, right? Everybody received a silver spoon that day. There's a kid on our team named David whose mother overheard that. And I'm going to be forthright with you and tell you, I think she hooked up with our coach after hearing that. And she had every right to. But it's DarbyCast. It's Economics Wednesday. Why am I talking about this? Because I care about the youth. That's why. Many of you know this if you listen to this show regularly. I saw some kids wearing masks the other day, and I wanted to hurt their teacher in a big way. Not like physically, because she was a woman, but I wanted to take off her mask and be like, "You are a sadistic piece of filth. You need to go speak to your colleagues about getting this fixed ASAP." Teachers can't hack it, but coaches can in a lot of ways. That's what I'm getting at. I've been massaging the idea, but I think it's time to just synthesize the thing into a beautiful polymer. That's what we like to call high-level educational chemistry. Today, I'm going to regale you with some incredible stories about some incredible coaches, and that's going to do a lot of big things for just about everyone in the pocketbook, because the kids are the future. I'm going to tell you right now, kids are about to start losing it. I can sense it. People have been telling me, "Oh, kids, they're so resilient. They can wear masks and then play with Stretch Armstrong. They can do a kickflip with a tech deck." And I'm thinking to myself, can they, though? Person who seemingly stepped out of a time machine from the 1990s. Can they? No, kids are struggling. They just don't know how to express themselves. But I tell you, who is going to unlock the potential of kids It's high-level coaches who are honest about what's really going on, who are willing to say, Logan, today we're going to be working on bounce passes. And while that drill's going on, planting seeds of why communism doesn't work. Be like, listen, Logan, generally people don't like each other. That's kind of the baseline. I don't know if you can perceive that, Logan. Good bounce pass, buddy. All the while you're dropping little key fun facts. Being like, Logan, what do you think, man? Oh, wow, nice bounce pass. Do you think Fauci worships Lucifer? You think that's how it goes? Logan might remember a few of these key things. And if you're an aspiring coach, maybe you'll be so lucky as to change the course of history with a power quote. Like, you don't have to drive a Ferrari when you are a Ferrari. First, you get the coaching job. How do you do that? You show up. I don't think people are really lining up to be coaches. It takes a lot to be a great coach. It takes a particular kind of style. I'm not talking about an Eastern European tracksuit, although that does hold quite a bit of weight in some cultures. There was a time when I was a coach. I was out of college, and I coached basketball. As many of you know, basketball is my sport of choice. It's what I played growing up, and I was pretty decent at it. I could dunk a basketball in 8th grade, and that set me up for extreme success. Sort of. I don't know. I got injured a lot. But as a coach, I dressed in an outfit that made me look like an aspiring coke dealer from Miami in the early 80s. And that's how the parents knew they could trust me with their kids. Some parents would take issue. They'd say, why is his mustache so erotic? Why is his belt made out of tastefully woven white rope so arousing? That's what the moms were asking themselves. They didn't know what to do with themselves. Me, out of college, mustache, slicked back hair, clipboard, and I abused the clipboard. You better believe that clipboard hit the deck about 15 times a game, especially when I need a little extra hustle out of the kid Dante. I said, Dante, good footwork. I was changing lives back then, much like I am now, but in a different kind of way. I'm still a coach, as many of you know, who listen to the DarbyCast. You're like, yeah, I get some pretty high-level coaching when it comes to high finance and business ideas. But I don't think I said weird enough stuff that really stuck with the kids. I wish I had that opportunity now. And in fact, that opportunity probably exists, and I could take it just about whenever I wanted to. Show up at a local high school, dress like a coke dealer, and say, the name's Trent Dixon. Hand him a fake ID. I'm the new coach. I used to teach a little bit of pro ball down in Peru. For one reason or another, I think that gets a handshake and a you're hired. I know they're pretty strict on background checks these days and all activities involving kids because you had way too many absolute perverts showing up. And so that's a chief reason why we need heroes in those positions now. Teaching positions, coaching positions, to right the wrongs of perverts and the athletically inept, both on a physical and a cerebral level. Why get into coaching if you don't know a damn thing about sports? Why get into teaching if you are a monster? There are monsters in the teaching profession, in more ways than one. But coaches are important. Let's stay on topic. Kyle, if I deviate too far today, give me a knowing look, one that says coaching. Okay? I remember coaches, plenty of forgettable teachers in my academic career. So many forgettable teachers. But I tell you about Coach Al. He's my high school freshman basketball coach. I don't remember many things that he said about basketball, But I do remember one night, practice was over. It was cold. We were wrapping up practice. The head coach was saying some stuff like, hey, we got a big game coming up. I need you to focus. No BS. Okay, guys. And then Coach Al, who was like in his 80s, he said, it's cold out tonight, guys. And when your mom tells you to put on a jacket, put on the damn jacket. Whew. How many coaches and teachers are presenting a unified message with the parents? Very few. So we're going to tip our hat to Coach Al, who also asked a great question. This is the second and only thing I remember him ever saying. He stopped practice one day, brought some of the star players over into a quick little huddle. He said, guys, riddle me this. Is Eminem a white rapper? We said, Coach, yeah. He said, I don't like that one bit. And we didn't know how to process that, but in the grand scheme of things, he was making elite level cultural commentary and saying, hip hop culture is regressive, guys. Don't go down that path. It's all big booty hoes and prescription medication glorification. Did we know that was built into that comment at the time? We sure didn't. But do I look back upon that now and say, Al may have been the first domino for me, where I noticed that things weren't okay at all in a lot of areas. Good job, Coach Al. Let's go further back in time, talk about high-level, high-impact coaching. I went to an elite-level basketball overnight camp. It's called Snow Valley. It is not for non-athletes. There wasn't a single kid named Roger there. Not one. And there were a lot of coaches there. I got linked up with none other than a fellow named Walter Van Meegem, who was allegedly the coach of the Belgian national team. I've tried looking this dude up, and I'm pretty sure he was just your run-of-the-mill pedophile. He didn't give a lot of high-level coaching, but he had hairy ears. So, he was wise in some respects. Don't remember a ton of things that he said, although I do remember quite a few things that he said. I caught the ball during a game in the high post, and some youthful urbanite of rare promise slapped it out of my hands, and I got pulled out of the game, and Coach Van Meegem said to me, don't hold the ball down there. That's where your willy is. I'm like, the fact that you're talking about my dick, and I'm like, 14. Coach, you really are not affiliated with the Belgian national team at all, are you? But a good call. Just position yourself for success, and that way it won't get slapped out of your mitts. I can go back and understand these things in greater depth now that I'm an adult. There was a big kid on our team at that camp. He definitely didn't play college ball. There's no way. Because his psyche was ruined by Van Meegem. Meegem had an affinity for this kid. It was verbal abuse mixed with some kind of affection, where he would say, come here, Mark. I was like, what did you just say, man? Come here, Mark. That accent doesn't fit anywhere. You are a pervert, sir. And this character you're playing, I see through it. Nobody else does. Actually, a friend of mine and we saw straight through his act. This was just around the time the tide was turning, where I think perverts were entering into organizations that work with kids in a big way. Much like how child trafficking is run primarily by organizations that are like, feed the children, save the kids, give them a blanket, and steal their souls. It's crazy what happened, but we remember these coaches. And so that's why I want to encourage you, as a DarbyCast doctor, to go to a local organization, give a made-up backstory, but then you do the right thing. That's one angle that I've thought of. for helping kids get back on track. Boy, are kids off track these days. Some of you right now are scratching your heads. You're saying, what's the other option for getting kids back on track? To eventually kickstart the economy. Remember, Economics Wednesday, DarbyCast. That's what you're listening to. It's pretty sweet. What can be done besides installing high ethics players into coaching roles? Some of you are already there. You already know. The answer is experimental cosmetic surgery that makes an adult look like a child. And then you show up as the new kid on campus, start throwing a frizz around the quad, then you bring in acoustic, start strumming a little bit and say, hey, I'm Max Power. I'm from a really rugged area in Colorado. I don't know a whole lot. Would you mind showing me the ropes? And then you infiltrate the student body and begin recruiting and turning the youth into powerhouses. And now if we really want to do this right, and we do this by the book, we synthesize both of these ideas. This is going to be a tag team effort where one DarbyCast doctor will sign up as a coach, another one will show up as a kid and then join whatever sports program that other one is coaching. You gain the trust of the kids to weaponize them against the establishment. Not for these perverted reasons, like scoundrels of the past couple decades have been doing. No. You work a program to get these kids to eventually start marching around the school waving the American flag and being like, USA, take off the mask. Biden's almost brain dead. Angela Merkel, disgusting. Can you imagine how rewarding that would feel to have kids in the know? So now's the time to self-assess and say, what role am I most suited to execute? Coach, or can I pull off a backwards hat skateboard riding youth named Blaine Savage? Join the volleyball squad if you're a chick. This isn't just a dude thing, okay? Chicks play sports too. Volleyball, soccer, lacrosse. No need to infiltrate a softball team. Those chicks are already so hardcore. They are so nuts. In fact, in the hierarchy of female sports, although they're kind of bottom of the barrel in some categories, in other categories, they're the cream of the crop. Half empty, half full, right? But what a high-level play that would be. Expert-level coach who says weird stuff, takes the kid through drills. All right, everybody, layup lines. Johnny Panzer, why don't you lead us? That will obviously be your counterpart. Cynthia Rocket Launcher, lead us in spike drills. This is a volleyball team after all. You got to say stuff like that as a coach. And you need the buy-in of the most popular kids. Because if we think we're going to take back the hearts and minds of the youth at a school board meeting where we put pressure on sinister educational bureaucrats, so wrong. So wrong. That's like taking the slow boat to China, right? Might get you there, but the bananas are spoiled. Put that on a bumper sticker. You can take the slow boat to China, but then the bananas are spoiled. Talk about a rallying cry for 2022. Layers of meaning, almost limitless. For those of you who are planning on playing the part of elite level athlete, have the wherewithal to know if you're coordinated before you step into that role. And then kind of study up on issues that kids are going through so you can make timely remarks to your quote unquote peers. Be like, geez, homecoming, right? You're in. You're a Green Beret, deep undercover. This is a mission. This isn't a hobby, okay? And if you're a dude and you're going undercover and you're a DarbyCast doctor, you're going to have to watch out. Because I don't know if you've heard about the trend of teachers who are like 8 in the looks department, sucking off underage fellas, but they're going to try to derail you. They're going to try to get theirs. You're the star player of whatever sport you're playing, obviously, because you're an adult and you are far better developed than a kid will ever be. This pretty much only works if you have very youthful features, you're no older than 24, and you're playing the role of a junior or senior transfer, but always from a very rugged area in Colorado. Because nobody's going to do the research on whether that place even exists or not. Are you kidding? I'm from Nuke Fish, Colorado. Wow. Moving on, right? That's how those conversations go. Come up with a town name. Make it badass. I'm from Apoca Blade, Colorado. Sounds kind of Native American, even though it's just apocalypse and blade put together. Unleash your inner poet. I'm from Winter's Wrath, Colorado. It's a pretty crazy place. A lot of wildlife. And then you're in. So long as you can nail layups, bump set spike, penalty kick, golf swing. And worst comes to worst, say you look a little bit older and you definitely can't pass for a high schooler. Let's trace it back to the Adidas tracksuit. You're from Eastern Europe and your parents fed you beer and steroids from a very young age. Expedited the aging process. And that is why you are 6'5", 230, and have a beard. No more questions. The name is Alexi Stormchaser. You get out of my face, okay? This is my culture. This is my heritage. If you have the ability to pull off a stateside vibe, you're from Colorado. Otherwise, you're Eastern Euro. That's it. If you're chick, hey, I'm Jessica Ironweld. And if you're attractive, you make up whatever backstory you want. Colorado, obviously the safe bet. But if you look a touch over high school aged, you're from Ukraine. And Ukraine's been in the news. And that's a perfect avenue for you to say, I fled my country of Ukraine because the U.S. is subverting my country. Vladimir Putin, not as bad as everybody says. Not a good guy, but like, there's bigger issues. Okay, ladies? Let's go for a run. After all, we're the cross-country team. And I'm the new star, Jessica Ironweld. Can you commit to that for 6 weeks? Because obviously the end of both of these roles, whether you're playing the coach or the star athlete, you're going to have to fake your death. Why? So people start thinking about the things that you said to them big time. And then you can go back to your normal life, whatever that looks like. Sure, you'll never be the same, and nor will those kids, but in a positive way. Okay? You're going to always have that month and a half to look back upon and say, I made a difference. Where's that been? Where's the self-sacrificial nature of Americans? Saying, put me in, call my number. I don't even give a damn. I've been in tech support, working my ass off, and I felt dead inside. But then, all of a sudden, there I am, Coach Ian Strengthmonger, taking some time off from coaching a little bit of pro ball in Denmark and saying, I got to go stateside. Am I captivating your heart right now? Something welling up inside you? Give yourself a stage name? Do these things sound remotely boring or trivial? Whether you're a coach or a player coach, right? Because even the star athlete, player coaches, adults in disguise, are going to be doing quite a bit of coaching. especially at lunchtime, starting fights with all of the kids wearing ripped jean jackets with Che Guevara patches on them, choke slamming anybody who even has the look of somebody who has had anything but hostile thoughts towards the Chinese regime. Clotheslining anyone who says, you look like you're 31. You shut that down real quick, okay? And some of you right now are asking, but isn't that going to get me in hot water with the vice principal of the school? Aren't you forgetting your partner in crime, coach, who's just going to show up, collect you from the office, give an explanation, real half-assed, to the vice principal, say, Samantha Lightning Rod is obviously having trouble adjusting to this new environment. She just moved here from Colorado. And I don't think I need to explain it much further than that. Samantha, get your things. We've got practice in an hour. And then you both walk out of there. And as you're walking, you say, how can we get more students to print out pictures of Fauci and put them in a bathtub and pee on them? As a metaphor. Just kind of bring it full circle back to my coach, right? What would he do in times like these? In war, and make no mistake about it, we are in war times. The key is to take out high-profile targets, leaders, and generals. So you, as a star athlete, player coach, or as a coach, you identify which kids in the student body need their uppins to come, or which members of the faculty need to have their tires slashed and their car keyed so many times that they go insane. You gaslight them, much like the media does to the American public when they show you that their tires are flat and that there's a lot of paint missing on their car. They say, I know you did it. You said, did what? They say, slashed my tires, keyed my car. You say, well, let me see it. Let me see what's going on here. It's a lofty accusation, Bill. Stupid son of a bitch. And then you walk out to Teacher Bill's car. And he's got a bumper sticker that he thinks is a funny teacher joke. It says, show me your marks, right? M-A-R-X. You know he is a bad apple. And he says, look at this. You say, I don't see anything at all. I don't even know what you're talking about, Bill. And then you take out your key and you key his car right in front of him. You write USA right on his hood. You say, would it resemble something like that? Is that something like in the vein that we're talking about? Bill is losing his mind as we speak. He's thinking about filing a police report. He dials the 50. Police are on the scene. They approach you and say, did you do this? And you say, do what? And little does Professor Bill know, DarbyCast doctors and other like-minded individuals are running just about every law enforcement agency around. Sees the USA engraving on the hood. It says, car seems better than okay to me. Quit wasting our time with stupid shit like this, Bill. Do you see what this would do for our economy overall in the grand scheme of things? Sure. The currency is so feeble right now. But there's a different kind of currency that we can focus on. There's a currency that's significantly more important, as many of you know, than the fiat bullshit that's been enslaving our country since the abolition of the gold standard in 1973 by Richard Nixon. Kyle, check the year. What's that currency, though? Intellectual and cultural capital. It's being subverted right now by pervert coaches, awful teachers, and you might have to take a pay cut, okay? For 6 weeks. I think you can do that. Tell your employer, I came down with dengue fever. It's going around. I don't want to give it to anyone. Not after all that's happened. They will gladly give you time off, and that gives you your 6 weeks to explore changing lives. Okay? I don't care how you do it, but I do actually have a requirement. One requirement. You got to throw a car wash. Because as we know, that's where the high impact comments really flow. The whole school would be there. A lot of the moms who were taking their Chevy Suburbans there, they'd be so confused by your chest hair or well-developed jugs if you're a lady. Say, who's that? Then their child has the opportunity to say, that's Svetlana Crusher from the Ukraine. She's so different. But hear me out. Pretty refined and nuanced view of techno-fascism. She doesn't put up with the bullshit of our corporate overlords, mom. Okay? And then that mom's going to be like, but why is she so busty? And then the kid's going to say, I don't know, mom, why are we still wearing masks? Cat's out of the bag. You can ask obvious questions, then so can I. Fuck, mom? And then you're going to see a lot of hugging and a lot of crying. You're at that car wash. You're a dude. Some mom with lonely but kind eyes looks at you. Says, who are you? You look too old to be on this team. But I've heard great things about you. Heard you've been telling my son how the entire political establishment is a unified front behind closed doors, but presents as a duality in public. And I tend to agree with you. And then you say, the name's Victor Laserbeam, and I'm from Estonia. Fast forward 2 weeks after the car wash, and this is how it has to go down. This is one of my only non-negotiables. When you're faking your death, it has to be via driving your car off a cliff or a bridge. Obviously, you're not actually in it, but nobody's ever going to forget that. Some of you already understand the how behind the what here, but for those of you who don't, you're going to go ahead and steal a cadaver, put it in a station wagon, find a high altitude location, slip that thing into neutral, and then you give it a nice little push. And if you want to do a 2-for-1, star athlete and the coach, right before you roll that station wagon, preferably a Volvo, good car company, at least it was in the past. I haven't really checked up on them in a while. You make a call to somebody, anybody. You say, hey, coach and I are going to volunteer. And then people know you're extra solid. Or if you're playing the coach, you say, hey, Blaine's car broke down. I'm going to give him a lift. Hang up. Then you push the station wagon off a cliff. Some of you right now are saying, aren't there easier ways to do this? The answer to that is no. If you want something to work, you need to think outside the box, okay? And I have laid out such a roadmap on this DarbyCast. If you don't think you can pull it off, don't do it. But try to encourage somebody who you think maybe could. Pass this episode on to them. Be like, I've got an idea. That's how you start the conversation. It's, hey, get over here. Come on. I have an idea. When was the last time somebody approached you in a conversation like that? It doesn't happen often, but when it does, can you imagine that conversation ever being average? A conversation starting like that and then just falling flat? Yeah, right. Some highly inquisitive listeners of the DarbyCast are maybe asking themselves, in what other areas could a dynamic like this be executed. Senior homes, obviously. Show up as a senior citizen, start abusing the staff that's abusing the other seniors. You either sign up as the new recreational activities coordinator or a bocce ball ringer, star athlete. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a great coach who's remembered for their theatrical death? Or do you want to keep letting perverts like Walter Van Meegum operate? Get them out. If you get a shot at dropping a Coach Al level quote, if you get a shot at dropping a Coach Sean quote, that's the guy, the Ferrari quote, that's where it came from, Coach Sean. If you get that opportunity, things look so different in this country. But we need risk takers. This is our Canadian truck driver moment. And boy, would the establishment struggle to handle this if this happened in an overwhelming crescendo-like fashion where it all syncs up timeline-wise. Newspapers around the country are reporting over 15,000 coaches accidentally drove off cliffs this weekend. Nobody knows what's going on. Behind closed doors, we'll be toasting. That's it, right? But that's DarbyCast, Economics Wednesday.